Welcome to my brief introduction to R. This series of videos has two purposes. First, I'm trying to make students comfortable doing basic tasks in R so that they can learn more through hands-on practice over the course of the semester. Second, I'm hoping to prepare students to understand examples of statistical concepts in my other video lessons. Those examples will primarily use R, so it helps to be a little bit accustomed to how R works. I've been running workshops on using R for psychological data analysis, off and on for more than a decade. I recorded one of my more recent long workshops, 8 sessions, and put it on my website in 2020. The link is in the video description. This brief introduction obviously does not fully cover everything in that workshop, but it is certainly more efficient, and some of the stuff I'm omitting here is actually probably better left until later anyway. Besides the videos, several other resources related to that older workshop are available on my website too. A link to my General Stats resource page is also in the video description. I have a great many years of experience using R for statistical analysis and data processing. As a result, I know a lot about certain kinds of things, but there's still a lot about R that I don't know, and that's because it is highly modular. There are parts of base R that you won't need 99% of the time. Plus, people write packages to do all sorts of specialized things, so different users naturally use different packages. That's part of what makes R so powerful, and also part of what makes it so important to get many different people's perspectives when learning about R as a tool. So don't take mine as the final word. There are whole worlds within R that I haven't touched. And it's okay if you feel that there are whole worlds within R that you haven't touched, because that feeling is normal and accurate, even for very experienced R users. For example, some fields of study or approaches to data analysis treat certain R packages as standard. Other R users may have never even heard of those packages, much less used them. There are nearly 20,000 packages on the comprehensive R archive network alone, and another couple thousand on Bioconductor, a separate database widely used for studying genetics and proteins. None of them are standard, except the base packages that install with R itself. The good news is this. Ample experience with the structure of the R language and the functions available in those base packages will give you the tools you need to learn any specialized package that you want to use in the future. I created this brief introduction in preparation to teach a statistics class for first-year psychology PhD students. Some students may have no previous computer programming experience at all and limited exposure to statistical concepts. The point here is to make everyone reasonably comfortable using R in the first place, so that we can use it together again and again for examples throughout the class. That repeated practice and the gradual exposure to more and more use cases that comes with it will be vital in making you feel comfortable using R independently. A graphical user interface, or GUI, is a visual system for giving instructions to the computer. R comes with a default GUI called RGUI. It seems like most people use RStudio as their GUI, but there are many other reasonable options. I mostly write R code in a text file using Notepad++, a free and open source text editor, and then run it in the default R GUI. A common mistake among beginners is to say that they analyzed the data using RStudio. That's almost like saying you wrote a document using your keyboard, as opposed to Microsoft Word or LibreOffice Writer or Pages or Google Docs or something like that. Yes, you used your keyboard, but only to tell Word or LibreOffice or whatever what to do, and any other keyboard would have worked just as well for giving those instructions. RStudio is just a way to tell R what to do, to run R code and view the results. The code itself is written in the R language. Download links for R and RStudio are in the video description. All you need to use R is to be able to write and execute code. But most of the time, we do it in a program running on our computer that makes it easier to organize the tasks that we're doing, some kind of GUI. This part is the console, the most important part of any R GUI. This is where you give the computer instructions. Here is the console in RStudio, the lower left quadrant by default. The second most important part of any R GUI is where it shows your script file. For example, this script file in my example image of the default R GUI, or the upper left quadrant of the default RStudio interface. If you don't have a script open, these parts won't show. Most of the time, you won't run commands directly at the console. It is harder to keep track of them that way and harder to fix errors. Most of the time, you'll want your commands listed in order in a text file like this. When you have a script file open, you can run the line that currently has the cursor in it with a keyboard shortcut. In the default R GUI on Windows, that's Control-R. In RStudio on Windows or Linux, that's Control-Enter. In the default R GUI on a Mac, it's Command-Enter. In RStudio on a Mac, it's Command-Enter as well. If you have some of your code selected, this same keyboard shortcut will run the selection rather than the entire line that has the cursor in it. This is the same as copying and pasting the code into the console. You can download the example code that I will run today and follow along in your own GUI using the appropriate keyboard shortcut. The link is in the video description. This zip file also contains 2 example datasets that I'll use later in today's demo. Our code is stored as plain text in a regular old ASCII or Unicode text file. We use the extension .r to signify that the text in the file is our code. Whatever your operating system, whatever your preferred GUI, the console should be pretty much the same, and that's what I'm going to show on the screen for most of this video series. Here's how I want you to think of the console. You put in instructions for the computer, and you get back responses to those instructions. The console is about question and answer, call and response, input and output. At the console, you tell the computer what to do, and then see what it does. R is a programming language. In contrast to many other common programming languages like C or Python, R is specifically designed for statistics and set up in a way that makes common data analysis tasks convenient. That's almost certainly why you want to learn it. However, I'm going to start by talking about the basics of programming rather than jumping into statistical applications. I promise we'll get to some statistics soon. The point of the first part is to show you that you are in control of what R is doing every step of the way. This is like learning how the steering wheel and pedals work in your car before you move on to mapping out where you're actually going to drive. As you build the intuition that R is listening to your instructions, it will help you understand what is happening as you process and analyze your own data, even when things go wrong. When something does go wrong, and it will, you can start to think of the situation more productively. I gave instructions that I didn't intend to give, rather than, it doesn't work. Welcome to the world of R. Let's get started.